The night was bitter, and the streets lay nearly deserted. Arif, a hungry street boy, shuffled along the cracked pavement with his hands buried deep in the torn pockets of an old coat he had salvaged from a trash bin. The thin cloth did little to shield him from the cold. Each gust of wind cut through and made him shiver. His stomach ached with hunger. Days had passed without a real meal. He had searched every alley and rifled through every box, but nothing could fill the emptiness. Above, the sky hung heavy with clouds, while the flickering streetlights threatened to go out at any moment. Turning into a narrow alley in search of a quiet corner to rest, he was met with the stench of damp stone and smoke. His bare feet moved silently across the wet ground. Then he froze. At the far end of the alley glowed a faint silver light, soft as moonlight, though no moon pierced the clouded sky. The glow pulsed gently, as if alive. Heart-hammering, Arif crept closer. Each step made the light brighten, and with it came a low sound, like a whisper carried on the wind. At last, he reached the end of the alley and gasped. A figure lay crumpled on the ground. Its skin shimmered with pale blue patterns that rippled like water, its chest rising and falling in shallow breaths. Dark liquid seeped from a wound along its side. Though fear pricked at him, this being was unlike anything he had ever imagined. Pity struck harder. It looked fragile, alone. The creature's eyes fluttered open, glowing faint silver, and it gave a soft sound like a plea before closing them again. Arif bit his lip. He had nothing but an old blanket, the one thing that kept him from freezing on the harshest nights. Without it, he would shiver until dawn. Yet he could not walk away. Gently, he drew the blanket from his bag and draped it over the creature. As the fabric settled, warmth spread faintly through it, and with it, a calmness Arif could not explain. He sat beside the being, listening to its weak but steady breathing. The alley seemed to fall into silence, as though the city itself held its breath. Time slipped away, an hour, maybe more. As he kept watch, eyelids heavy but resolve firm. The silver glow painted soft shadows on the walls, transforming the forgotten alley into a place set apart, as if something vast was waiting to unfold. Hugging his knees, Arif whispered to himself that he would stay until morning. When dawn's first light brushed against the darkness, Arif stirred from a half-sleep. The alien's glow had dimmed but remained steady. Then a low, rolling hum drifted across the quiet street, deep and alive, like something moving above the clouds. Arif rubbed his face and looked up, but the heavy sky revealed nothing. Beside him, the creature stirred, its breathing stronger than before. Relief washed over him. Arif leaned closer, careful not to startle it. A soft tone escaped the being, clear, delicate, like a single note from an unseen instrument. The air itself seemed to tremble in answer. Arif held his breath as the sound faded into the morning chill. A sudden flicker of blue light rippled across the alien's skin. For one heartbeat, the patterns along its body glowed brightly, then dimmed again. Arif lifted his hand, almost touching the strange markings, but stopped short. His fingers hovered an inch away, tingling with faint warmth, like the heat of a candle flame. The creature's eyes half opened, silver and dim, and something stirred in his mind. Not words, but feelings. Gratitude, warning, a pulse of meaning that made his heart lurch. He pulled back quickly, chest tight, as the alien's eyes closed once more. Yet the glow at its chest remained steady, like a fragile flame refusing to die. Arif turned his head toward the street. Had anyone else heard the deep hum that rolled through the sky? The city seemed unaware. Only the distant murmur of traffic carried across the dawn air. A sudden gust rattled an old sign above him, and he flinched. He thought about running, about finding help, but the thought felt wrong. This moment was not meant for strangers. It was a secret, thin as glass, that could shatter if he left. So he stayed. Silver lines spread slowly from the wound in the alien's side, weaving themselves into moving shapes, tiny constellations that drifted like stars in a slow dance. Arif stared in wonder, fear slipping away. Another deep vibration rolled across the city, louder this time. Trash bins rattled, and dust fell from the bricks around him. He looked up. For an instant, pale light flashed behind the clouds, sharp as lightning, though no thunder followed. The air smelled of ozone, strange and sharp, like the world had changed. Beneath the blanket, the creature drew a deeper breath. Its chest rose, the glow along its body brightened, and the soft note returned, stronger, climbing higher, as if calling to something beyond the sky. Arif felt it in his chest, the sound matching his heartbeat. He bent close, whispering, "Hold on. You'll be safe. Just hold on." Minutes passed. The hum above grew steadier, rhythmic, like the heartbeat of the heavens themselves. Then faint lights appeared, sliding across the gray sky. At first, he thought his tired eyes played tricks. But the lights grew brighter, moving in careful patterns, spreading into a wide circle. The clouds lit up with their glow, and the air thickened with energy, as though a storm was waiting to break. The alien's eyes opened fully at last, glowing silver and clear. They locked onto Arif's, and for one breathless moment, he felt strength pour into him. Calm, steady, vast. A thin hand lifted, touched his arm. Warmth pulsed through his skin like a spark, then faded as the hand fell back. The glow along its body flared once more, and Arif's chest tightened with awe and fear. Something immense was drawing near. The sound above deepened into a vast, slow heartbeat that filled the sky itself. The alley no longer belonged to the city. It felt like the center of something greater, something waiting beyond the clouds. Clutching the blanket tighter around the alien, Arif whispered, voice trembling, "Stay alive. Please stay alive. Something is coming." The gray morning crept across the cracked walls, but the shadow over the sky remained heavy. The hum continued, steady and deep, carrying a metallic tang that clung to the air. The alien stirred again, its silver eyes opening a fraction wider as light crawled from its skin into the bricks themselves. Thin rivers of stars tracing patterns across the alley wall. Arif watched in silence. The glowing lines on the alien's body shifted like rivers of light, moving with purpose, as if sketching a map only the creature could read. He lifted a finger to trace one of the trails, but the light slid away before he could touch it, vanishing like mist. A sudden wind tore through the alley, lifting dust and scraps of paper into a frantic swirl. Arif shielded his face. The alien stirred, turning its head slightly, and from deep within its chest came a low, resonant note. The sound vibrated through the stone beneath them, humming in Arif's bones. It was both a warning and a plea. He looked toward the mouth of the alley and froze. High above, shapes flickered in the gray sky, dark silhouettes gliding too smooth, too deliberate to be birds. They circled once, then melted back into the clouds. The hum overhead deepened, steady now, like slow drums beating in the distance. Arif's heart thundered in his chest. Every instinct screamed at him to run, but his legs refused to move. Something told him the alien was at the heart of this, and abandoning it would be a mistake he could never undo. The creature's gaze met his. Its silver eyes held no fear, only a calm that bled into him like warmth. For a breath, courage filled him. The glow on the alien's chest flared, and then a thin beam of silver light shot skyward. It pierced the clouds in a single flash, so bright it lit the alley like sudden daylight. Arif blinked spots from his eyes. By the time he looked again, the beam was gone, but the hum above had swelled, layered now, almost like voices chanting in a language beyond human understanding. Somewhere in the city, sirens wailed and died. A dog barked once, sharp against the silence, then stopped. The world seemed to pause, every sound held back, as though waiting for something enormous to arrive. The ground quivered, first a faint vibration, then a slow, rolling pulse, like the footsteps of giants buried deep beneath the earth. A loose brick scraped near Arif's knee. He pressed his palm to the cold ground and felt the steady throb rising through the stones. His heart raced faster. He bent toward the alien and whispered, words tumbling out even if they were useless. He only wanted the being to know it wasn't alone. The alien's hand moved weakly, its long fingers brushing his wrist. A spark of warmth spread through him, filling his chest with quiet calm. Overhead, the clouds thickened, dimming the sun and bathing the alley in dull silver. Then, a sharp flash split the heavens. A line of white fire blazed across the clouds, casting the alley in stark brilliance. Arif flinched, covering his eyes, as a low roar followed. It was not thunder, but something mechanical, alive. The sound rolled across the city, faded, then swelled stronger, rattling rooftops and shaking dust from the bricks. Arif's breath caught as he looked up. Enormous shapes moved behind the clouds, vast outlines glowing faintly, shifting like mountains in the sky. He couldn't tell if they were ships or living beings, only that each was colossal. Lights pulsed across their forms in perfect rhythm with the hum that filled the air. The alien's eyes snapped open, silver bright and unafraid. Its chest rose with a stronger breath, the glowing patterns along its body pulsing in harmony with the colossal rhythm above. Arif felt it, no words, just meaning. Something vast was descending, something that carried the weight of an unseen army. Clutching the thin blanket tighter around the creature, Arif's fear twisted with awe. The alley no longer felt small. It felt like the axis of the universe, the place where a silent promise was about to shatter into reality. The hum above became a slow, rolling thunder, spreading through every street of the slumbering city. The bricks beneath him shook with each pulse, as though the very ground had taken on the beat of a giant heart. Arif clenched his jaw. He could feel it in his chest, in his teeth, in his bones. The rhythm of something beyond human comprehension had arrived. The sound seemed to pour straight from the clouds. The alien opened its silver eyes fully for the first time, and the glow along its skin blazed brighter than ever. Lines of light flowed across its chest in shifting symbols, alive and deliberate, like a language written in motion. Arif stared in wonder. He could not read it, yet he felt its purpose. A message sent far beyond the earth. A sudden blast of wind tore through the alley, carrying the sharp scent of ozone. Scraps of paper spiraled upward like frightened birds. Arif shielded his face and squinted toward the street. Above, faint blue sparks danced across the clouds, sketching the outlines of shapes so vast they seemed to stretch beyond the horizon. The humming deepened into something like a chant. Nearby windows rattled. From distant streets came the cries of startled people, shouts muffled by the strange resonance. Car horns blared, then fell silent, as if the whole city were pausing to listen. Arif felt a touch. The alien's glowing fingers brushed his wrist, pulsing in rhythm with the thunder above. He understood without words. This being was no longer just a wounded stranger. It was a beacon. Then the sky split open. A blinding flash of silver light burst through the clouds, flooding the alley like midday. When Arif's vision cleared, his breath caught. They had arrived. Enormous vessels slid into view, their colossal forms drifting high overhead. Dark as mountains, edged with fire-blue light, they moved with a silence more terrible than any roar. The ground trembled in steady waves, welcoming their descent. Streetlights popped and burst, raining sparks onto the pavement. The air itself turned electric, sharp, heavy, alive. From the lead ship, a cone of pure light speared downward, striking a rooftop near the alley. Dust rose in glowing rings. Then a second beam, the third. Soon the sky was threaded with silent pillars of light, each one alive with vibrating energy. Beside him, the alien released a single tone, soft and clear. It silenced every other sound. The note brushed against Arif's thoughts like a wind in his mind. Gratitude, warning, calm. He nodded without knowing why. The vessels shifted, aligning into a vast circle above the city. Their lights flickered in perfect unison with the glow pulsing across the alien's skin. Sirens wailed faintly in the distance, swallowed by the deep thunder that rolled from the sky. People gathered in the streets, voices rising in fear, awe, disbelief. But their cries were nothing against the ocean of sound from above. Arif stayed in the shadow of the alley, crouched beside the glowing figure. The blanket clung to its body as though binding their fates together. He felt the ground beating like a colossal drum, each pulse echoing through his chest. He no longer thought of running. The certainty was clear. This moment, this bond, had been sealed by a single act of kindness. And now it echoed across the stars. The circle of ships loomed heavy overhead, their outlines burning faint blue in the swirling clouds. The thunder had become a steady heartbeat, filling every street, every rooftop. The arrival of an alien army was only a breath away. Each vibration came harder than the last. Suddenly, a spear of silver light slashed down from the largest ship, striking the empty street beyond the alley. The pavement flared, glowing as though turned to glass. Aerith froze, lungs locked, eyes wide. The wounded alien beside him stirred, its silver eyes opening. A faint hum rose from its chest, answered a heartbeat later by the ships above, their hulls resonating like a hidden choir. The beam widened. Mist churned upward in a spiraling column, a storm of light and haze. Through it, shapes emerged, tall figures stepping out in silence, one after another. Their armor shimmered with blue and silver patterns, like fragments of living constellations. Each carried a long spear tipped with faintly glowing light. Their faces were veiled behind dark helms, polished and deep as midnight skies. Aerith tried to count, but the numbers quickly broke apart. There were too many. Ranks upon ranks of alien soldiers flowed outward, forming a perfect circle around the beam. They moved without sound, yet their presence pressed on the air heavier than thunder. The ground itself seemed to hold its breath. Gasps rose from the street. Someone screamed. A woman dropped her bag and fled, but the soldiers gave no chase. The humans were nothing to them, their focus fixed only on the narrow alley, where Aerith crouched with the frail creature. The envoy's skin pulsed brighter, as if answering some unseen call. In that instant, every soldier turned their head as one. Helmets caught the silver glow, a mirror of starlight. And then one figure stepped forward, taller, stronger, its armor etched with symbols that burned like lightning carved into storm clouds. No spear in its hand, only a staff of crystal, glowing with a slow, steady rhythm. The leader raised a hand. The humming ceased. The silence that followed was absolute. Deeper than midnight, heavier than the world's own heartbeat. Even the wind stopped. Step by step, the leader advanced, leaving faint sparks with every tread. The soldiers parted in flawless symmetry, opening a path. Aerith trembled, unable to move, yet some strange calm spread through him. The envoy gave a soft chime, like a bell struck gently. The leader halted before them, kneeling. The towering warrior bowed its head. Aerith's disbelief cracked into wonder. Then came the voice, not sound, but a stream of images and feelings that blossomed directly in his mind. A story without words. A truth without explanation. Gratitude. Honor. The small being he had saved was no ordinary wanderer. It was a royal envoy, a bearer of their people's spirit. The leader lifted the staff. A warm pulse spread outward, bathing the envoy in light. The wound sealed, skin brightened, breathing steadied. The glow of its body shone sure and strong once more. Around them, the soldiers shifted, their armor flashing brighter, relief shared across an army. The leader's gaze fixed on Aerith. Again, the voice within, "You gave what you had to one who carried the soul of our kin. Your kindness will be remembered among the stars." The promise struck deep into Aerith's chest, a vow stretching far beyond his small, earthbound life. Above, the ships shifted formation, beams sweeping across the city, casting vast silver shadows. The crowd stood in stunned silence. The leader rose. With solemn grace, it tapped the crystal staff to the ground. A low, resonant tone spread through the air. The soldiers lifted their spears as one. The sky itself answered with a deep, rolling hum. Aerith sat frozen as the leader inclined its head once more, then turned back to the light. One by one, the soldiers followed, stepping into the mist until only faint afterglows lingered in the air. And then they were gone. The ships above pulsed brighter, until the whole city seemed to wait with bated breath. The sky glowed like a living ocean of silver light. Arif remained in the alley, the alien breathing strong beneath the worn blanket. The hum deepened, so powerful it seemed to vibrate through every stone. On the street, people stood transfixed, faces lit by the strange beams. No one spoke as the last of the alien soldiers vanished into the mist. Only the tall leader remained. Its crystal staff sent ripples of blue across the wet pavement as it turned once more toward Arif. With slow grace it bowed, a gesture heavy with honor. Warmth spread through Arif's chest. The leader raised its hand, releasing a thin stream of silver light that wrapped gently around him. A voice without words filled his mind. Your gift has touched the heart of our world. You gave when you had nothing, and in doing so, you have bound our people with yours. This bond will not break. The message carried both strength and comfort, like a melody written among the stars. The alien scout stirred, silver patterns glowing bright along its skin. It rose whole again, the blanket falling aside. Taller than Arif expected, it radiated calm. With silent gratitude, it placed a hand on his shoulder. The warmth of its touch spread through him like fire against the cold. Above, the ships began to shift in unison, beams of light weaving a map of stars across the clouds. A low, vast music filled the sky. The scout lifted its voice in a single pure note, answered by the chorus of ships. For a moment, the whole world seemed to listen. The leader stepped back into the mist, turning one last time. If ever the dark threatens, look to the night sky. We will come. This is our promise. The crystal staff flared, releasing a final cascade of light that bathed the city in silver. Slowly, the ships lifted into the clouds, their immense forms swallowed by the dawn. The hum faded, leaving only the quiet of morning. The crowd stirred, whispers rising like wind through dry leaves. Some stared at Arif in awe. Others dropped to their knees, but he barely noticed. His eyes stayed on the scout as it paused at the edge of the fading column, gave him a small nod of farewell, and stepped into the light. The beam collapsed with a brilliant flash. Then it was gone. The sky cleared to soft gray, and the city's sounds returned: sirens, footsteps, the distant rumble of traffic. Yet everything felt changed. Arif stood alone in the alley, the old blanket at his feet, the warmth of alien touch still burning faintly on his skin. He looked upward. High above, where the ships had vanished, a single star gleamed. Calm filled him, strength too new and quiet but certain. He bent to pick up the blanket, clutching it close. The cold no longer bit at him. With steady steps, Arif walked out of the alley and into the waking city, carrying with him the memory of a night when kindness bridged the stars. The end.